There are some common mistakes that are made by beginners when they first buy their 360 camera, and in this video I want to talk you through 10 common mistakes that are made by beginners so that you can avoid them and improve your 360 shooting skills. My name is Rich and this channel is dedicated to making 360 easier for everyone so you can have more fun with your 360 camera. So please hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you don't miss out when I upload new videos. A 360 camera captures images from two lenses and then stitches the images together to create one image. This area around the camera is the stitch line, and you must avoid placing your hands or having anything close to this stitching area. If you cross this line, then your images won't stitch properly, or you'll cut yourself in half or objects in half. The further away you move the camera from the surface of an object, the better the stitching will look. So try using a selfie stick or extension arms when you use camera mounts. Traditionally on a selfie stick with say an ordinary GoPro camera, you'd mount your camera at an angle. But a 360 camera sees everything, so if you mount your camera at an angle then it will see the selfie stick in shot. So when using a 360 camera or when using the Insta360 ONE R with the 360 module, never mount it at an angle because you won't have an invisible selfie stick and your selfie stick will appear blatantly in the middle of your shot. To help with this, when you're mounting the Insta360 ONE R or the Gopro Max onto a selfie stick, then make sure that you use a straight tripod mount adapter. Don't use an offset one, which you quite often find with standard GoPros. All of this helps keep the camera straight and the selfie stick invisible. Avoid damaging your lenses and don't use your t-shirt or your jumper to wipe your lenses. Protect your lenses at all times. Always use the lens cap, and if your lens needs a clean, then use a lens cloth, a lens blower or a lens pen or some canned air or a combination of all of these. And particularly be mindful when using the lens protectors on the Insta360 ONE R and on the GoPro Max, because when you put them on it's really easy to leave thumbprints or fingerprints all over the lens protector. So make sure they are also kept clean. Avoid cheap memory cards. Use a leading brand memory card and ideally one that's recommended on the Insta360 ONE R site or the GoPro Max site. I always use SanDisk memory cards and nothing else. It's not worth trying to save £5 or £10 on a cheaper memory card, and then when you go out and capture a precious moment that can't be replaced, the memory card gets corrupt and that moment is gone. One other mistake that I would say to avoid with regards to memory cards is the huge capacity memory cards. So you can get really big capacity like 512GB memory card which will store something like more than 8 hours of 5.7K footage on it. Well, that sounds great, you've got all that footage on one memory card. But if you lose that memory card or that memory card gets corrupted, which it can do regardless of whether it's a branded memory card or not, then that's all that footage gone and lost forever. What I would suggest is that you spread the risk and get 3 or 4 memory cards rather than one big memory card and have 128GB on each memory card. Avoid one lens facing the sun and try and get an even amount of light on both lenses. Some 360 cameras cope with uneven light on both lenses more than others. But the one thing that does usually stand out is the stitch line. If you've got uneven light and glaring sunlight in one lens and then a dark image on the other lens, then you will find that the stitch line is usually more apparent in your shot. Avoid overshooting for 2 reasons. The first reason is the size of the 360 files. 360 files even on your mobile devices are quite big and you can easily run out of storage quite quickly. On a desktop, particularly with the GoPro Max, once the 360 files are unpacked via GoPro Exporter, the files are huge and you can run out of space on your desktop computer very quickly. If you keep running out of space, it just holds you up and it's really annoying. And the second reason is that if you avoid overshooting, it just takes less time. If you've just started using a 360 camera, then the 360 learning curve is quite steep. So if you shoot less and your clips are shorter, then the whole task of editing and processing your clip is going to be less daunting and you're more likely to start and finish an edit. Also, if you use the AI features with the ONE R which analyzes your footage, if you've got less footage, this process will just take a lot less time. And if you're manually going through your clips, it's going to be a lot easier to go through a 1-minute clip and get the highlights from a 1-minute clip than it is going through a 5 or 10 minute walk or a bike ride that's very repetitive, that there's like 2 or 3 moments in there that you want to get out of the clip, but you've got to hunt through 5 or 10 minutes of footage to find those moments. Avoid your camera falling over. When you're using your camera on a monopod or on an extended selfie stick on top of a tripod, it's not worth taking the risk of the camera falling over when you're on uneven ground or when there's a slight wind. So to avoid the risk of damaging your camera and damaging your lenses, then use a weighted monopod or peg your tripod down to the ground. Avoid waving your camera around everywhere to get your shot. Remember, you're using a 360 camera. This camera sees everything that is going on. You can choose what part of the shot you want to look at in the edit by reframing it later. You can relax while you're shooting and direct the action after when you edit it. When you edit your footage, give your shots time to breathe. You can do so much with your 360 footage. You can reframe it 100 different ways. You can change from tiny planet to flat view to standard view to panoramic view. You can move out to a tiny planet into an inverted planet. You can go from hyperlapse to slow motion. But because you can do all those things, it doesn't mean you have to do them. Give the viewer a chance to see your shots and don't just make them sick by quickly moving from a spinning shot to a hyperlapse shot and then back to a spinning shot. By doing this, it's the quickest way to get disliked on social media. If you're planning a big day out where you know you're going to shoot a lot of 360 footage, then make sure that your gyro is calibrated on your 360 camera. You can do a quick test on your camera to see whether it needs calibrating by doing a quick record and then seeing if there's any drift left or right, or if there's anything peculiar going on with the horizon level. I put this mistake in here because it's one of the biggest mistakes that I made last year with the Insta360 ONE R. I shot a lot of driving shots on a ghost hunt video and I hadn't calibrated the gyro, and when I got the footage back, everything was drifting. I solved the problem by putting in keyframes in the edit to counteract the drift movement, but it's one of those problems that could have easily been avoided. Now you know what mistakes to avoid, you can get out there and start having fun capturing your life in 360. But please do carry on making mistakes, because that is the only way we learn and the only way we get better. Let me know in the comments the biggest 360 mistakes you've made and what you learned from them. Please remember to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.